ahead and grab our, gather up our props and go ahead and have your straps handy tonight. And I don't remember when we were doing those big stretches like this. We'll try to remember to do that tonight. And I can't remember if I did cow face with you all last class. I'm getting a little confused what I'm doing with you, but we can do cow face tonight, and that'll be shoulders and hips, so we can still continue with some of our hip movement. So for props, the usual, I feel like, there we go, that's a little better. Things to have towards the end of class or even during class: a bigger pillow, a bath towel, some type of eye covering when we get to Shavasana, maybe a smaller pillow for the back of the head, a strap and or your scarf or your rolled up towel will work. And then if you do happen to have, excuse me, a yoga block, that can come in handy, and a cushion. And I put my water bottle somewhere and I don't know where. So give me just one more second. You guys can gather up your goodies. Got it. All right, so if you are taking care of things this evening, oh, and I also have my chair waiting for me because we'll probably get into some of those bigger standing poses for our hamstrings and hips. You can get that a little bit later, but I just have mine stacked up against the wall. So whether it is shoulders, low backs, knees, whatever the case might be, remember to make your modifications, don't force it. So if you're working on trying to improve some mobility and movement in your joints, just ease into it. It's better to take baby steps than overdo it and then feel it the next day, in my humble opinion. So, and from lots of personal experience. So thank you all for showing up, for your continued support and patience, and to Austin Yoga Tree for everything they're doing to help us stay connected. We will start in child's pose tonight, so I'll let you take a moment to get yourself in your child's pose. Any version is acceptable. If you do want to go a little bit deeper for those hips and the low back, wide knee child's pose. So opening those knees nice and wide, bringing the big toes to touch behind you. If you feel like you need a little extra support tonight, either in front of the body, take your big pillow in front of you to let the body rest on. If it's better for your knees, take the pillow behind you or another type of prop so that you don't have as much compression in the knees. Now, if you want to go right into a bigger shoulder stretch in this pose, forego the prop in front of you, spread the fingers wide, keep your hands wider than your shoulders, so a pretty broad stretch there, and extend those hands towards the front of the yoga mat as you bow the belly, the heart, and head to the ground. And then that will intensify the stretch for those shoulders. So from here, we'll take a moment to just let our body settle in for our practice. So loosen things up, start to let the body sink into the pose here. If those hands are extended, we can let the elbows even float from the floor. Start to feel this lengthening through the whole side bodies, from those inner armpits, down the side of the rib cage, the waist, drawing our sit bones back and letting the hips sink down towards the heels. So we will feel this stretch across the low back, the lumbar spine, and in and around those hips. As usual, we want to check in with any areas that we are healing and taking care of this evening. Let those areas relax. Sometimes the biggest challenge of our practice is to let go of the ego and wanting to go as far as we normally know we can go and just backing off a little bit. And that can be a really big mental challenge, so we can work that willpower muscle and that practice of santosha and being content wherever we are tonight. Just a couple more breaths here, so let's start to feel and notice the breath in the body. Let that breath flow as evenly as possible in and out through the nose. Let our inhales fill ourselves up tonight with some fresh air, prana, and energy. And let those exhales take away any stress, any tension we might be holding on in our body and our mind. Let's go ahead and follow one more cycle of our breath. We can let this breath be our biggest one of our day yet. So on that next inhale, really fill yourself up, feel that expansion, front to back, side to side. And big exhale to let everything out, empty the body, letting go of any stale old air and energy. Our next inhale, we'll float the head up and our body up. So organize yourself with your props, adding extra cushion if you want it. Fingers are still wide, hands are stacked underneath the shoulders. Nice strong arms. Stack your knees right underneath your hips, a little bit of space between the knees and the feet. Press into the ground, float the head in line with the spine. Low belly rounds in, just enough to support a neutral spine, keeping our hips level. Give your right foot a stretch back. So undoing that compression from child's pose, shift your weight back through that heel as much as you want. Breathe it in. Exhale, knee comes down. Take a couple breaths with the left leg extended behind you, toes tucked under. Again, you can press your weight back through that heel to intensify the stretch, but both hands should be equally weighted here. Deep breath in. Exhale, tabletop. Let's re-extend the right leg, do our little bit of balance and strengthening. On the inhale, hover the right leg parallel to the floor, toes point down. So this is going to use a little bit more abdominals as well. Left arm reaches forward, palm in, thumb up. Keep the first knuckles of each finger in the right hand grounded to help take pressure out of that wrist. We'll take another inhale in the pose. This time try to lift the leg and the arm just slightly higher, strengthening more of the back. Exhale, bring the hand and the knee down. Other side, low back and hips stay level. Left leg stretches back, then squeeze those muscles to hover the left leg parallel to the floor. Actively flex that foot, toes point down. Adding the right arm, extending straight from that shoulder. So the left side here is doing the stabilizing. Make sure you're pressing out into those first knuckles and feel some strength around the chest as well. If you get any discomfort in that left shoulder, we'll have to make some modifications. Maybe you don't bring the right arm forward. We'll take one more breath in, and that will try to lift us up a little bit higher. Exhale, tabletop. A few rounds of our cat-cow, so a wonderful way just to loosen everything up. Remember, we have our fingertips or fists for wrists as modifications in those wrists. On the inhale, relax the belly. Lift and lengthen from the tip of the tailbone to the crown of the head. Exhale, draw the belly in, scoop the tail, rounding the back up to the ceiling. Drishti moves to the belly button. Let your breath be your guide, so you're moving at your own pace. Now you can concentrate a little bit more on that shoulder girdle, really trying to poof up the back of the heart on those exhales, and then sinking the heart on those inhales. Or focusing a little bit more on the hips, so the pelvic tilt. Let's take one more of each. And then we'll come back to neutral spine here. Coming off of our wrists for a moment, let's stretch out our feet. So tuck your toes under. Try to shift your hips back under those heels for broken toe pose with praying mantis. If that is too much on the knees, you can come into a kneeling position or fold up your yoga mat a couple times so you have a little extra cushion, or sit back on a prop. So big stretch for the toes and the feet. In the hands, the forefingers are glued together, the thumbs stick out. Reach towards the ground, pinching the forefingers to the thumbs. Now you're intensely pulling your fingertips up to your forearms, and it looks like the head and body of a praying mantis. As you exhale, just shake your hands up. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, pinch, really pull, pull, pull to undo the compression we just did. Exhale, shake it out. 1 more, and if those feet are talking to you, do this pose more. Inhale, reach it up. Exhale, bring it down. Let's walk our hands back to that tabletop position, bring our body back to alignment. Flatten out the tops of the feet and just give them a little paddle back there, get the blood flowing through the tops of those feet. And then we'll walk our hands 1 hand's distance forward, arms at 45, toes tucked back under, draw that low belly in, and we'll lift ourselves up, back, and down, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. So you may need to adjust the length of your down dog. Remember, we're trying to turn our body into an inverted V position. Fingers wide, hands nice and wide. Externally rotate those upper arm bones away from the ears. Continue to round that low back in. Feel free to pedal your heels, bending the opposite knee if you want to get back into those legs again. You can gently turn the head side to side, looking under alternate armpits there, just to let the head kind of loosen. Again, if this is causing any discomfort in the shoulder, you need to make your modification, maybe staying in tabletop or child's pose. Let's all take 1 more big breath here. Find some stillness in the pose. On our inhale, look forward. Baby step feet to hands, hands to feet. Uttanasana, forward fold. So again, you can go into the deeper version, drawing belly towards the thighs, trying to straighten the legs, releasing the arms and the head towards the ground, or holding your elbows in a ragdoll. If it's a little bit much on that low back, bend your knees deeply, placing your elbows or your hands on your thighs. You don't have to stay upside down if you don't want to be. You try to release any tension around those shoulders, the head and neck. So if you're trying to get those shoulders to be a little bit more loose, you can do a little swaying of the arms or a little side to side movement. Make sure your knees are unlocked, your legs are strong. Start thinking about your lower bandhas and locks. So Mula Bandha of the pelvic floor, Uddiyana Bandha of the lower abdomen. Little back strengthening here, halfway lifts. Inhale, hands to shins or higher. You use the strength of your back to float your chest open, looking slightly forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Add those arms if you want even more. So your palms are facing in. You're really squeezing your shoulder blades. You might even feel that in your triceps. Exhale, fold. 1 more. Inhale, halfway lift. This exhale will sit us back into Utkatasana, nice strong pose. Modify for shoulders tonight, just bring your hands in front of your heart or keep them up and extend it. So we're lengthening that lower buttock down. We want to make sure those knees are pointing forward towards the toes. The head should be floating on our shoulders. So you know I like to do a little bit of balance right away, so let's just do our single leg standing here. Without leaning too much to one side or the other, try to use more of your muscle to lift your right foot from the floor. We'll bring it down. Let's breathe and try to squeeze the left foot from the floor. There's a little bit of leaning, but try to do a little bit more strengthening. Bring the left foot down, sink a little bit further down. Nice, powerful pose. Our next inhale will reach us all the way up to extended mountain. So you'll reach up towards the ceiling. You can open the heart. Do stay connected to the core muscles, so don't thrust those lower ribs too far forward. Turn your palms out and exhale, float those arms down. We'll go right to palm tree pose. You should still have a nice firm foundation through the lower half of the body. Inhale, re-extend the arms out and up, lifting your heels up. Bring the palms to touch and exhale, lower the hands and the heels back to the ground. 2 more. Inhale, nice big stretch up to the ceiling. Exhale, lower it down. And one more. See how high you can go, up on those tippy toes. And then exhale, hands to heart. So we'll go right into our standing portion of class today. So this is where you'll maybe want some yoga blocks, some books for support, or even a chair like I'm gonna have. And you'll have to rearrange yourself on your mat. We'll start in our wide neutral stance, and then we'll move into Prasarita Padottanasana from there. So if you have props that you're working with, take a moment to get them situated accordingly. You want to be in a position where your feet can still stay nice and grounded. And then we open up nice and wide. You want to open your feet maybe as wide as your wrist. If that feels like it's a little much tonight, then you don't need
There's a note on the
What's that? Do you have a question? Oh, that's okay. So
sorry, yeah, I need
point forward. We start in the neutral position, nice strong arms. And then we'll bring our hands right under those hips. So you're finding that top rim of your pelvic bowl. Turn the toes slightly in now. So we want to internally rotate the thighs to encourage an anterior tilt. Remember to lead with the heart. I'm not hyperextending and losing my connection here. I'm still connected to the core, but I want to avoid that rounding and diving down. Instead, fire your quads, pick up your toes, and pour your pelvis forward. Now we can come halfway. Inhale, create more space to the front of the spine. And then on our exhale, maybe we have some space to go into it. So we've been doing this pose my last few classes. So if you already know where you kind of want to start moving into your pose, feel free to follow your breath. Quads should be engaged because we're trying to stretch the backs of the legs and the inner thighs here. If your fingertips are to the floor, keep your hands about as wide as your shoulders so the heart can still lead. Drishti could be right underneath the tip of the nose to the floor, pooling the blood more at the base of the skull. Those of you that are back in your inversion and you're engaging the abdominals to bring your belly towards your thighs, drop your head down, look between the legs, walking your hands between the feet so that the fingertips and toes are in one straight line. And we will try to hold for a couple more breaths. Remember that the feet should be equally weighted, so pick up your toes. The mount of the big toe inner heel should be connected, and the mount of the pinky toe and outer heel, so avoid rolling in or out on your feet. One more breath. The inhale will bring us to halfway lift when you get there. So we're re-engaging through the whole body, also regulating our blood pressure a little bit. So find your fingertips or your props. Strong legs, strong core. Exhale one hand at a time to your hips. And then big breath in, float up out of the pose. Inhale, 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 all the way up to the crown of the head. Once you come up, reach your arms out and try to inhale even more. So we're breathing in some fresh oxygen for our body. Palms touch, exhale, hands to heart. So we'll move into Trikonasana from here, triangle pose. Again, if you're using props and you're gonna want them to support you in this pose from front to back, you can organize that. We'll wanna turn our toes so that they're going, pointing straight back forward to the long edge of the yoga mat, arms extend out. We'll start with our right side, so lift the right toes, externally rotate that thigh bone to point your toes to the short end of the yoga mat. Now both side bodies should stay equal in length. There is a little bit of a tip at the pelvis here, so I'm drawing my right hip crease in. And then the inhale, you can extend, that's the Utthita part of the pose. Don't collapse your knee joints, keep your legs straight and strong. Exhale, windmill the arms. Unsupported triangle, the hand comes in front of the inside of that leg, and we can even use it as a little bit of a lever to get that rotation in the torso. If you have a prop, you can bring it to the instep of the foot. Try to keep your right side as long as the left side, so the spine is still in a nice straight line all the way up to the crown of the head. Now rolling through the rib cage, the shoulders, maybe taking the drishti up to that top thumb. Both feet nice, strong, and active. There is an option to take a half bind here. It might feel nice for the shoulder. So you flip your left palm to behind you, dropping the arm across the low back, and maybe trying to walk those fingertips into that right hip crease. One more breath in the pose. If you have the half bind, inhale the arm up, use your core, inhaling, follow that breath to bring yourself up to neutral. Turn the right toes forward, come back into alignment. If you are using a prop that you want to move, take a second to do that. And then pick up those left toes. Turn your left toes to the short on the other mat. We're actually opening up at the hip, the thigh bone. So knee and toes should be facing to that direction. And then when we add this pelvic movement, this lateral movement, keep your left side just as long. Draw into that low belly. Inhale, extending. Exhale, windmilling. Thighs, quads, so we're receiving that stretch up the inner thigh, back of the leg. Spine should be straight and long out the crown of that head. Feeling that rotation as you're ready, almost like you're trying to lean into an invisible wall. If you're using a prop, remember, I usually recommend just bringing your fingertips onto the prop instead of a flat hand so you don't shift all your attention into the weight of that hand. One more breath. Sorry, half bind first. So if you want to add that half bind, bring your right arm behind your low back and maybe try to tuck your fingertips into that hip crease. One more breath from here. Now the inhale will extend the arm up and brings the body up. So strong legs, use your muscles, back to neutral. Turn the toes forward. On the exhale, relax your arms. Roll your shoulders, noodle them around a little bit. Heel toe, step those feet closer together. All right, so from here, let's go into Parsvottanasana. We've also been practicing this pose. It's going to be a big hamstring stretch. I'm going to just have us turn towards our left side, or whatever side your props are, to make it easier on us. And we'll stand in Tadasana. So you still have your feet width apart. Extend your fingertips out from your shoulders, toes and knees pointing forward. Lengthen the upper buttock to the ground. No tension in the face, neck, or head. And then bring your hands onto those hips. We'll step our right foot back a couple of feet behind us. And you're staying in that same line, so you do not have to be in a tightrope. Let your right toes angle out just slightly. Right hip forward, left hip back. Low belly pulls in, but you keep the spine long. And then exhale, you'll start to hinge, pouring your pelvis forward. Getting an immediate stretch up the back of the left leg. Coming halfway. Inhale, create more space through the front of the spine. See if your low back and hips are nice and level. And then on the exhale, we can go a little further into it. So same thing, this happens a lot in triangle pose, and in this pose, we tend to collapse the knees and thrust the backs of the knees behind us. I want you to unlock those knees, but draw up to the quadriceps so that the hamstrings can get more length. Those of you moving further in the pose, same thing. Fingertips to the floor, hands stay shoulder width apart so the heart can lead. Drishti slightly in front of the body to the big toe. If your belly is on the thigh and you want to add that little bit of rounding, take the chin to the chest, throat lock, and press your forehead into the knee. And that will stretch out more of that connective tissue running all the way up the back. One more breath in the pose. Inhale, halfway lift. So find your fingertips, find your props, come up halfway, regulate the blood pressure, and re-engage the legs and the core. Exhale, one hand at a time to those hips. Press off your front foot. Big breath in to come up. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Exhale, right foot steps forward. Tadasana, extend your fingertips down. Try not to move. Just focus your awareness on the body, the breath. Other side, hands to hips. Left foot steps back a couple feet. Toes can angle out slightly. Now re-square the hips if they've shifted. Left hip forward, right hip back. Open up the heart. Stay connected to the core. And then as you exhale, pour your pelvis forward. Without locking those knees, soften the knees. Coming halfway, low back and hips should be level. Breathe it in. And then on those exhales, maybe we find a little bit more space to move into receiving this deep stretch of the back of the right leg. You might need to play a little bit with how you're weighting your feet front to back. You should have pretty much equal weight side to side. Fingertips to floor for some of us. Hands stay shoulder width apart. Drishti slightly forward to the big toe. And thus you have space to go further. If your belly is on the thigh, tuck the chin, throat lock. Trying to press the forehead to the knee to stretch out the whole back of the body. One more breath. Inhale, halfway lift. Find your fingertips or your props. Float the chest up. Bring the head back in line with the spine. Strong legs, pull that low belly in. Exhale, one hand at a time to your hips. Crossing off our front foot. Inhale up to the crown of the head. Exhale, steps left foot forward. Reach those arms up. Pause and observe Tadasana. Turn your palms out. Inhale, reach your arms out wide. Extended mountain. Gentle back bend just by gazing upwards, opening the front of the spine. Bring your palms to touch. Exhale, the hands back down in front of the heart. So let's get into a little bit of our shoulder work. We were actually doing this pose a bunch last month, and it feels really good. I did a lot of work shoveling and raking again today, so I could definitely use some shoulder work. We want our straps. I don't know what I did with mine. There it is. Or your scarf, whatever you're using today. So we'll focus on the shoulder mobility, opening up the chest and rolling through those shoulder joints. But again, don't forget about the lower half of the body. It should be structurally really strong and firm and grounded. So no jamming of the knees backwards, unlock them, pick up your toes, feel your muscles, energy through those whole legs. Root the tailbone. Also, when we go into these stretches, there's a tendency to want to hyperextend and let those low ribs thrust forward. You want to stay connected. So if you're having tightness, wider the grip, the better. You can always narrow it once you feel like you have a little bit more room. So we'll start with the strap in front of us. On the inhale, we'll just start floating it up. On your exhales, you bring it back down. And again, you'll just follow your breath. You can bring it slightly back behind you, get a little bit more through the chest. Make sure you're not tensing the face or the throat. If it's available, we can make that whole circle all the way back and down behind us, keeping some tension on the belt, and then rolling all the way up and back down. Let's all do two more, whatever version you're doing, and the rolling version here. Now let's meet with the strap directly above the head. Really important to pull in nice and strongly through those lower abs, a version of Ardha Chandrasana. This is going to be lateral movement now. So take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, contract your right side to stretch out the left. The inhale, the muscles pull you back up. Exhale, contract the left side to stretch out the right. So depending where we hold our tension, we might feel this a little differently. We'll go one more to each side. I'm actually feeling this more through my waist, but you might also feel it through the upper back, around the shoulders again. After you finish that last one on your left side, we'll meet back again with the strap above us. And then here, we're gonna pause and breathe in the biggest stretch that we want. So for me, I like to take it almost just right behind the back of my head. I wanna stay connected to the front body, keep rooting the tailbone to the floor. And just get a big stretch there. Give me one more big breath in. And on the exhale, we'll release. So let the strap go for a moment, keep it nearby. Give your fingertips a little shake in your hands. Let's do that little qigong movement. This can also really help loosen up tension around the joints. So the legs and feet are strong. We will let the body just start to gently rotate. So I'm gonna drop my arms like wet noodles. The only thing we need to kind of be careful of here are the knee joints, but you'll let your hips kind of start to go into this twist. And the more momentum you build up, the more those arms are flopping around. I'm not trying to move my arms. It's the momentum of my upper body rotating. And then you'll notice that your arms kind of start slapping into your low back. So this pose stimulates the whole circulation of the body. It's said to improve the flow of chi, or what we call prana in yoga. And a nice little compression in the low back stimulates our kidneys and adrenal glands as well. Just let your arms flat. And then eventually we just start to slow it down here until your body just kind of rests in a nice relaxed position. And since we're doing a little qigong, let's do a little bit of movement in and out of crane pose. So crane pose is a yoga pose that's also used in qigong. They're all weave in and out of each other, these body-mind practices and philosophies. So in crane pose, again, this will help loosen up our joints, so it's more of a flowing movement. So don't try to be rigid in it, really just let your body move into it. So the arms will be kind of relaxed beside us. We will lean a little bit to our right. So my right leg is going to be firm and strong. Lift and lower those toes, start to find your hover. And then try to hover the foot from the floor. So in crane pose on the inhale, I pull my left knee up and I'm just dangling my fingertips. My joints are really loose. And I float my arms out and up. The foot is also just kind of hanging. And then on my exhales, I lower back down into a soft hover or touch. 2 more. Inhale, lifting up into crane pose. Exhale, soften. 1 more with the breath. Good. Now in this exhale, we land as softly as possible without any unnecessary movements in Tadasana. And again, we want to observe the body, the breath, and the brain. Other side, lean a little bit to the left. Nice strong left side as our foundation. Pull up through the pelvic floor muscles and the lower abdominal muscles to help with your balance. Soften the arms. Start to play with a little bit of action, hovering here, lifting and lowering the toes. And then eventually we'll find that hover. And 3 times with the breath. The inhale pulls the knee up. My fingertips and hands are just dangling as I lift my arms up. The foot as well. And then the exhale, hover or touch. 2 more. After your 3rd time, this exhale again, we want to land as softly as possible. Imagine being that bird and landing in the water, trying to create as few ripples as possible. And then just finding that stillness, keeping our focus, eyes steady. Deep breath in. And then exhale, relax. So we'll make a transition now back towards the floor. So if you need to clear some of your space out of the way, go ahead and do so. Have your strap somewhere around you so you don't have to go hunt for it. We'll come back towards the front of our yoga mat. We've moved ourselves around. Back into that Tadasana mountain pose, standing nice and tall. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Pick up those toes. Feel that foundation in the lower half of the body so that the upper half of the body can feel light and lifted. Turn those palms out. Big breath in, up to extended mountain. Last chance to grow as tall as you can here, maybe gazing slightly upwards. Micro bend those knees. Exhale, reach your arms wide and back as you swan dive back to your forward fold, whatever that looks like for you tonight. Again, you can try to just dangle one arm at a time, both arms, or ragdoll. Maybe prance the legs, straightening one leg at a time. Let the weight of the head and weight of the world just melt off our upper body. Inhale, halfway lift. And this exhale, we'll plant our hands. Let's take a big step back to downward facing dog. Find your alignment in your hands, your feet parallel to each other, fingers are wide. Drawing those inner armpits down the side bodies. Stretching those sit bones back and down. Rounding that low belly in, hollow out that low belly. Sinking the heels towards the floor. Simply bend your knees if you have a lot of tension in the upper back or low back. Next inhale, let's lift those heels up as high as we can. Look at your toes. Look at that toe crease we're making across the front of the toes. On the exhale, we're going to drop down to the knees. Maybe try to keep the knees together, flatten out the feet. Sliding the hands back to the feet, bowing the head down into the more traditional version of Balasana or Child's Pose. We'll do one little shoulder stretch here in our Child's Pose as we give our low back a nice big stretch. So we have our hands back behind us. Re-extend your hands forward. Bring your hands into prayer position, palm to palm. Drop the elbows to the ground. And then bending at the elbows, place your thumbs at the nape of the neck. And then try to walk your elbows forward a little bit more, left, right, left, right. And we'll actually feel that through the lats. And again, the side bodies here around those shoulder blades. One more breath. And then reach those hands out, open them wide, float the head up, float the body up to tabletop, stretch the legs out one at a time, let the blood rush back down to the backs of those knees. So we're gonna come into Gomukhasana from here. This is a hip stretch and a shoulder stretch. So there is a lower half element and an upper half element in this pose. If the pose sitting back on the heels, if this is not working for you, you will forego the lower half of the body in the pose. You can bring your feet forward. You can sit up on your pillow or your prop and just be in Sukhasana or cross-legged pose, okay? You have to be careful of your knees in Gomukhasana, and like I said, it'll be a really intense hip stretch for some of us, like me. So this is how I move into it. There's different ways to get into it. From tabletop pose, bring the insides of the knees to touch and the insides of the feet. Pull your right knee and foot forward, crossing your right thigh on top of your left thigh. Squeeze them together nice and tight. Now slide your left foot over to your right so it's out of the way. And I actually need a block here. So right knee's in front of left knee. I'm walking my feet out along the edges of my yoga mat. Some of you might be able to sit back on your sit bones. You're not sitting on the feet. I cannot. So I'm sticking a yoga block underneath my sit bones. So from the side, my right knee is on top of my left knee. From the front, Your knees should be stacked one on top of the other, and your feet are sticking out here beside you. And both your sit bones should be equally weighted. So that's where if you can only get one sit bone down and the other one's crooked, you need to take your bath towel, a folded blanket, a book, whatever it is, so that your pelvis can be level. That's important. And we got to get our strap as well. So hopefully it's not too far away from us. I'm going to turn back to the side. I'm going to move around a little bit so I can show you different angles. So we're here, bottom half of the body is in cow face pose. You will take your strap and fold it in half and just hold it about halfway. It's just dangling here. And then I'm going to bring my right arm right beside my right ear and swing the strap so it falls behind me. Bend at the right elbow so that the palm is facing towards the nape of the neck and the elbow is ideally as high up as it can go. Left arm reaches forward, palm in, thumb up. Flip the thumb down to the ground. Wrap your left arm around, bending at that elbow. The palm faces away from you. So now I'm holding on to the strap down at the bottom and at the top. The most common mistake that happens in this pose is people are so heck bent on getting their hands together that they round their back and they tuck their chin to their chest to create some space. No bueno. You have to keep the heart and the chin open. There should be no tension whatsoever in the upper half of the body. I can freely move my head and neck here. Now you can try to walk your top fingertips down, back fingertips up. Some of you might be able to take a hold of your fingertips, but this in the front should not change, okay? So wherever you are is where you are today, and we're happy to be there. Now, we're gonna breathe, and I'll show you, well, I won't show you, but I will cue you for one more element here. So those of you that want more and you're still not feeling this in the hips, round, hollow out that low belly, and you start to bow your upper body forward, dropping the head towards the knees into a bow. Now, your low back is going to have to work to get you to come back up out of that pose. So if you're bowing forward, you know you have to have the strength to be able to come back up. So it's just an option. Otherwise, we're concentrating more on stretching out the tricep on one side, the shoulder on the other. Let's all take one more breath wherever you are in the pose. Now on the inhale, let go of the strap with your left hand, but keep your left arm on your low back. So let it slide back down. Take your right arm with the strap and drop the strap off to the side. We don't need it anymore. Then you're going to take your right hand and try to place it palm to palm with your left hand. That might be a pretty big reach for some of us. You can also just try to grab a hold of the left fingertips. If that doesn't happen, just place your right hand on your hip. Those of you that are able to bring palm to palm above the fingertips, very gently draw the left arm further across the lumbar spine as much as you can. Still sitting up tall to the crown of the head, we'll drop our right ear to our right shoulder. So left arm, shoulders getting pulled down, arm behind you, right ear to right shoulder, stretching out the top of that left shoulder. You can also drop your gaze down back towards your knees, and that will shift more of that stretch of the back of the neck. One more breath. On the inhale, float the head back up. Exhale, unwind those arms. Walking forward, there are other ways to release it. I reverse out, same way I went into it. So I walk myself forward. The block's going to be in my way, but I'm going to kick it out with my left foot, comes back into place. Right knee pulls forward, and I bring my right knee back down into place. From here, we'll stretch our legs out to take out that compression on the knee joints. Doing that from tabletop, or if you like, toes tucked under, downward facing dog. Whatever feels best for you tonight. Once we feel like we got the blood flowing back through those legs, we'll bring it back down to the knees. And tabletop, the knees and the feet come together. So now they're touching. Pull the left knee and foot forward until you can cross the left knee right in front of the right knee, thigh to side. I'm squeezing my thighs nice and tight. And then I take my back foot, my right foot, and I move it over to the left. So the right foot moves to the left foot should still be out at an angle. Then I'm gonna walk myself back and sit back. And again, for me, I gotta put a yoga block back there. So from the front, ideally, one knee is directly on top of the other, sandwiched together, and your feet are sticking out to the side. So you should either, if you're more open, be sitting flat to the floor on both sit bones, not on a foot or a heel. If that doesn't happen, use something so that the pelvis is nice and neutral. We'll take a hold of the strap in the left hand. Spin myself around. Reach your left arm up the side of the ear. Bend at the elbow so that the palm is facing to the nape of the neck. Make sure the front of your throat, chest stays open. Right arm reaches forward, palm in, thumb up. Flip the thumb down to the ground. Wrap your right arm around. Bend at that elbow to take a hold of the strap behind you. So that palm is facing out. From there, you might be able to inch bottom hand up, top hand down to hug your fingertips, as long as that doesn't compromise the head, the neck, or the chest. One elbow reaching up, the other elbow pointing down. Knees pointing straight forward, heart in line with the knees. If you want to explore with the bow, again, mindfulness of the low back, round that low belly in and start to bow your body forward, head towards the knees. One more cycle of breath wherever you are. Those of you that have bowed forward, your next inhale will round you up. Use your muscles. Restack the spine. So ungrip your right hand, let it slide down to your low back. Stretch the left arm up with the strap. Drop the strap off to the side. We don't need it anymore. Left palm comes to right palm, fingertips, or your hip, wherever you can be. If you happen to bring palm to palm or fingertips, gently draw that right arm further across the low back. The forearm is right in the lumbar spine. And then on the exhale, left ear drops to left shoulder, stretching out the top of the right shoulder. A subtle difference in the stretch. Bring your gaze down towards your knees, and that will stretch out a little bit more through the upper back. Inhale, floats the head up. Exhale, wiggle those arms out, noodle. Hands walk back forward. Take your time coming off those knees. Those of us that are in that pose, move your props out of the way. Pull your right foot back into place, and then your left knee forward and back into place. Walk your legs out one at a time, or tuck your toes. Stretch it out, downward facing dog. Let the blood rush back through those knee joints. So we'll transition to a seat. You can transition through child's pose, or you can try to step your right foot over towards the left in front of you slightly, the left behind the right, and then walk your hands back and sit back in a easy cross pose, and then bring your feet forward. However we get there. So it's time to start working our way down to our backs. If you have props that you're going to want to have for final relaxation and they're far away from you, you can gather up those things now. If you want to do that little bit of abdominal work to get there, follow me, or just walk yourself down to one side, roll on your back, and wait for us there. Spread the feet, knees fall open wider than the hips. We are scooping up the belly, so this is articulation of the spine. Fingertips reach forward. I'm going to try to slowly lower down into my low back, the lumbar spine, rolling vertebra by vertebra through the mid-back, the shoulder blades, the back of the head. Once the head touches down, we reach the arms overhead. We stretch our legs out, feet flexing, into our long body stretch. We adjust our clothing and our ponytails if we have them. Feel your rib cage and waist opening, let your low back arch. Create as much space as you can here in the body. On our exhale, float those arms down, walk your shoulder blades under, walk the feet in. Draw the knees into the body, rock side to side across the low back. So we'll go into Supta Baddha Konasana, reclining bound ankle pose. Open your knees nice and wide again, get a little bit for the hips. Soles of the feet touch, try to reach for your feet, bringing the soles together. Very gently drawing the heels towards the pubic bone. I'm allowing my low back to stay grounded. And the elbows can very gently press into those thigh bones to help the thighs open a little bit more. Head and shoulders should be nice and relaxed towards the ground. From here, we'll do our single leg stretch and Supta Konasana. So you can take your yogi toe grip. Yogi toe grip, you start with the hands on the peace sign. You glue the index finger and middle fingers together. Open the ring, pinky and thumb. Your index finger, middle fingers, the palm faces in, slides between your big toe and your second toe. The thumb rests on the very top of the toe, and the ring and the pinky fingers press into the top knuckle of the toe. That is yogi toe lock. And then when you pull on the toe resists back, so don't pull your toe out of the socket. And then on the inhale, try to stretch one leg out, maybe 45 degrees. Option to roll that direction and maybe the foot touches down. Exhale. Oops, I grabbed my strap with my foot. Somehow I picked up my strap. Bring the foot back. Inhale, stretch out the other leg, same degree. Exhale it back. So we can do that a couple times each side. Getting into those inner thighs. Feels good. The more you press those heels out, the more that will also intensify that stretch up the back of the leg and the hamstrings again. So do one more to your right, one more to your left. Try to open both legs out. You can try to keep your yogi toe grip, pressing those heels out. Remember the toes resist the fingertips. Drop the shoulders down. If that's a little bit much, hold the weight of your legs from the outside, or simply move your hands to the inside to massage those muscles. Nice big stretch for the whole inside of the legs. Keeping your hands on the toes of the feet, just bend your knees into your armpits, soles of the feet up to the ceiling, happy baby pose. A little rock here as well. Big breath in. To exhale, release the feet, bring your knees and feet together. Take a hold behind the thighs, let's stretch them up to the ceiling. Just honoring the lower half of our body here for a moment. Waterfall pose, taking all the effects of gravity on our legs out for the day. Point and flex those feet. Big breath in. This exhale hugs the knees in, glue the knees together, the feet together, reach the arms wide. We'll take one last pose, final twist before our final relaxation. On the exhale, let both knees fall to the right. Use your props. Sink your left shoulder to the ground. Head can turn to the left. Place the right hand on that top knee for a little bit more. Close the eyes, start to relax the body. All the little muscles around the face, the mouth, the throat. The inhale will bring the head and the knees back up. If you need to do a little shift before the other side, do so. Glue the knees and feet together. Exhale, knees to the left. Right shoulder stays down, head turns to the right. Let gravity do the majority of the work here. Slow the breathing down. Relax those shoulders down to the ground. Next inhale, we'll float the head and the knees back to neutral, realign. Try to wrap those arms across the shin bones, taking hold of opposite elbows, floating the head up, nose to knees, giving ourselves and our bodies a great big hug. Being grateful and thankful for everything our body just gave to us. Deep breath in. And on our exhale, we get to let it go. So, if you're comfy where you are, stay where you are. Remember, letting the weight of the knees drop together with the feet to the floor can help release tension in the low back. If you want to continue with some of that hip work, soles of the feet touch, knees flop open, Baddha Konasana, or extend those legs out into Shavasana. Use your pillows, your blankets behind the head, under the back, or the weights of the legs. Use your eye coverings to help the eyes and the mind relax. I'll give us all just a moment, a minute or two here to get comfy. I will guide us through a little bit of verbal relaxation. Then I'll give us several moments here and some peace and quiet, and then use my singing bowl to bring us out of Shavasana. So remember, take the time in the beginning to put the effort into the pose so that we find symmetry in our body, right to left, front to back. Arms rolling open beside the body, palms up. The fingertips just gently curling up naturally. Find the very back center of the skull, and then allow the weight of the head to sink into the earth. Smooth the skin across the forehead and brow. Relax the eyebrow center. Let the mind's eye rest softly at the third eye center, our place of intuition and wisdom. Poof the cheeks with air, wiggle out the mouth, releasing the tongue and the lower jaw to gravity. Relax the throat. Feel the weight of the shoulders, the elbows, and the backs of the hands. Relaxing all the way down the arms into the centers of the palms. Relax down the back, vertebra by vertebra, allowing the low back to sink into the ground. Soften all the muscles wrapping around the waist, the abdominal muscles. Relax all of the internal organs. Notice a gentle rise and fall of the belly with the breath. Relax the larger muscles of the buttocks, the hips and hip sockets, the tops and backs of the thighs. Feel the weight of the legs sink into the ground as we relax all the way down the legs, through the knees, into the ankles, feet, and toes. Relax the whole body. Soften and relax the inside of the body. Our breath becomes quiet, gentle, and easy. If our mind wanders, bring it back to the peaceful breath, or focus it once again at the third eye center, giving ourselves just one more moment to let go, to feel a sense of surrender, and to simply be and breathe. So let's slowly come back to our breath and breathe life back into our body as we wake up the toes, wiggle the fingertips, Rock the head side to side. Rolling the wrists and the ankles. Depending where we are with our props, the next inhale can re-extend our arms overhead, stretching the legs out back into our long body stretch, so we can create space and length through the whole body, right to left, left to right, front to back. On the exhale, floating those arms down, walking our feet in, and then drawing the knees back in to rock side to side across the back. Right arm falls beside the head, rolling over to our right, pausing in Supta Balasana, sleeping baby pose. The head is cradled on the arm. And then keeping the eyes closed or soft, pressing down into the ground. We can slowly bring ourselves back up. We will revisit any comfortable seated position and take just a couple more nice big breaths together tonight. So sitting up on both sit bones and nice and tall through the crown of the head, minding our surroundings, extend the arms out to the side, palms up. Take another deep breath in through the nose, float those arms up overhead and gather up everything we need for the rest of our evening. Turn those palms out, even bigger breath out to float the fingertips back to the floor and to let go of all that other junk we don't need this evening. And one more breath together. Inhale, reach up. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale, hands to heart. Bow the head down to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and anyone else that made it possible for us to practice our yoga together today. If you'd like to join me for the Om Shanti mantra, feel free, taking a nice deep breath in through the nose to chant. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. And I thank you all as usual for your practice, your patience, for showing up tonight on this beautiful evening. Thank you for the shoulder suggestion. I needed that as well. So if y'all got any questions, comments, feedback, let me know. You can also reach me at my email. It is yogitayoga@yahoo.com, YOGITAYOGA@yahoo. I had a couple students with questions. You can also reach out there. Maybe we can plan on doing a little mantra class someday, or learn a new mantra to start our classes with. It feels quite nice, and they have a very powerful and fast effect. So my teacher in India always said, you want to take the expressway to samadhi or enlightenment, mantras.
Yes.
If you want to take the slow road, asanas. If you want to take the fastest thing you can possibly do, just sit there and shut up and meditate. So, but we all have different dispositions, right? We all have different doshas in yoga. Our disciplines are different. That's why some people practice bhakti yoga. Some people practice karma yoga. Some people practice what we do as Raja yoga or Hatha yoga. Just like some people like to sprint and other people like to stroll. So that's why yoga has all these different paths and avenues for all of our personalities to be able to succeed.